Alright, y'all. So, I haven't been making any content in a minute, and I definitely wanted to go over my pre predictions tier list. This isn't definitive. This isn't because I know every single deck in and out. This is just based on what I think eventually certain leaders could land based on how you build them, what they're trying to do, etc. So, I'm going to be going through most of these leaders. Some of them I'm not even going to categorize just because I don't see a point. Some of them are just for fun. Some of them are really good because they're actually good. And we'll go from there. So, I'm going to start with my favorite leader of all of them, androids. So, right now we have a S tier, which I think is going to be the very really good leaders. They could still lose to other, A, B, C, D. It just depends how you play. But S is really good. It could be one of the best leaders. They can always maybe win the whole regional events or any kind of thing like that, locals, whatever. A is going to be they're there. It can happen. They're still really good, but they're not as broken as they used to be, kind of deal, or something like that. B is just middle ground. C, locals probably. D is bad, which honestly, I'm just gonna go ahead and say F. There's only gonna be a S tier, A, B, C, and F. Androids is in the A tier. The only reason why I put them there is because they're still one of the best green decks in the game. They can still do what they want to do because of the 4-drop rare card. They have many ways you can play this deck, whether it's offensively being a beatdown deck, defensively using Earth's Destroying Blow to ramp and drop your 8-drop Broly's and go from that point and control the game. Androids can do a lot. They play all kinds of ways, which unfortunately sucks for this game because we want to have a deck archetype that's pretty good, but it's too good. And to make future green decks, why would you want to play other ones if this one is good? And yes, we like to test new decks, we like to test new leaders, but eventually when that fades out, you go to what's reliable. Androids is an A because a couple of the newer decks can actually outgrind this deck. If you're trying to go for the defensive stall deck, you're gonna get killed. If you're trying to go for the beatdown one, which I think is the best way to play, probably, it can beat you, but I think some of the decks still beat you. But if you're able to stabilize, do what the deck does, get to those big time energies, this deck will give you a hard time no matter what deck you're playing. It can beat Zamasu, it can beat a whole bunch of other decks. It's great all around, and that's why I think it goes in the A tier. The other green decks we can go over. Cell. Honestly, I'm getting to the point where Cell's like B, middle ground. Cell can do exactly what Androids does. It can run the same package, and the best thing the Cell does that no other deck can still do technically, or even Androids, is use the 8-drop Cell. Below 2 bodies, recover, stabilize. If Cell stabilizes, it's a dangerous deck. If it can't stabilize, which majority of these decks can kind of push them in, it dies. Similar, not there 100%. I'm gonna put them in B. The other green decks, at the current state of time, I'm gonna put Broly in C. Broly's still tanky. He can be taken to locals and do some damage. Honestly, he could probably go in B. Problem is, archetype and things around him aren't the best. Yes, a bunch of these green cards that are newer can be shared in most of these decks, but he's just there. Same thing with Gohan. Gohan belongs in C. They're similar decks. They always have been since set 1. Difference is they do slightly different things. He's just susceptible to being a 20k leader compared to Broly being tanky. They both are pretty good within the tier that I'm putting them in, but the other ones there do a little bit better. And last but not least, Piccolo. I'm gonna put him in C as well. I think the same thing. Piccolo wants to do the same thing. It's funny because these 5 green leaders mostly want to ramp to do what they gotta do, such as Piccolo, Broly, Cell. They need to have high energies to do what they want to do, so they have to go there. I'm gonna put Green Vegeta, even though there's a lot of cards that can stall his deck out and kill it, such as the new Vegito 4-drop and a whole bunch of other things that can kill your 3 drops. But when this deck gets going, because it doesn't rely on having high energy, it really relies on lower energy, smaller bodies. You get to play bodies off of other bodies. This is a way different Ginyu package, not as aggressive and crazy, but you can do some similar things. The deck is in a decent spot. Like I said, I'd rather play this over the others. I'm not saying it's worse, or I just think within other decks and what it faces, I will put that in B. So moving on from that one, because I think it's all the green leaders. We're gonna move on to blue. I think everybody who plays Fusion World competitively can agree that this is the worst. This Vegeta leader is the worst leader in the game. It's pointless to have an effect that bottom decks a 1-drop. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know if they really hate Vegeta that bad, but this was a big, like, they dropped the ball. If you have the Trunks leader that can literally take away a 3-drop or less without paying any cost, why would you give it to this leader that you bottom deck a 1-drop? And everyone saw this and was like, maybe they're going to give us cards that do something great. They did. They're just not worth it. So this leader probably will never get played. The next one is Trunks. Oh man, I'm so sorry, y'all. I keep having this antivirus thing pop up. Trunks literally belongs in C tier. I think that his ability, and with some of these newer cards, you can do some really cheeky plays. You could probably steal some wins. I'm still gonna put him in C, where it's like, he's great in locals, he's great. He could pass and B here and there, but he's just not good enough with his ability to really do anything that matters. You can use him as removal. You can use him to pick up your own cards, which is nice. It's just that it's not strong enough, in my opinion. And I wish they made more cards that can make him better, because it's really cool what he can do, but it's just not enough. Goku Black, C tier. When it does its thing, you could lose. When it doesn't, you lost. I don't think the way this game is going now that this archetype and this leader can actually make it. I really don't. So because of that, I'm gonna leave him right there where he's at, C tier. But he can still do damage. He can still kill you if he gets everything going, and you're gonna sit there and be like, wow. Gohan, I put him in B. He can use a lot of the newer stuff that the Vegito leader uses. They gave him tools that he can use as well, and it's just that Vegeta does it a little bit better. That's the only thing I really can say about it. Still a good leader, can still do some pretty good things, but you have other leaders that can do his game plan better, which sucks a little bit that you kind of power crept a little bit. I know he has a different abilities in different ways, but you kind of did, Bandai, and that it just feels a little weird. But I think he's in B. I think he's a little bit better than Trunks. We should put him around there. The other blue, did I pass all the blue leaders? Vegeta. I'm gonna put Vegeta in A. Honestly, him and Vegito are really similar. Vegito swings at 40. You mill a good amount of cards, which I noticed a bunch of people was like, man, you're gonna have 20 cards in the drop. That can be all your super combos, it could be most of your stuff, and I get it. It's kind of a high risk, high reward. But he doesn't have to worry about his restriction of 7 or less. Vegito does. He just has to worry about 20 cards and drop, and then he swings for 40 every swing. Vegeta has to worry about the restriction of the 7 or less, and then he's a 35k attacker instead of a 40k attacker. So these are things you have to really think about and consider, because you don't know if you're going to have 7 or less. Sometimes you need more cards in hand to combat with. So I still think he's a strong leader. I still think he can sweep games because he's similar to Vegito, but it really comes down to players. How do you play? How do you build your deck? Right now, I have a build Vegeta that is really crazy with the Go Tanks, dropping the 3-drop Go Tanks to go into a 4-drop Go Tanks. Now you have the promo crit one, and then you have that 4-drop SR one. So you can do a whole lot of crazy stuff. It's just a straight crit build. Now, Vegito might not do that because he doesn't have that engine like this leader can, because only Vegeta can play that 3-drop Go Tanks, which is pretty good. You have some leader locked abilities, but in my opinion, he's good. Not the greatest blue deck in the world, but I think he's in a really good spot that can contend more than the blue Gohan, in my opinion. And then Vegito, I can't put him in S tier. When we first saw this leader, we thought, man, there's a leader that can swing for 40k. He's gonna power creep Vegeta. He's gonna do this, this, and this. And I'm like, wait a minute. There is great things of him, but I feel like he's a high risk, high reward leader. So I definitely think he's a great deck. There's times where you can get messed up by milling certain things that you're gonna need, and you can't pick them back up. And if you do, though, you can beat down your opponent with 40k swings, beat down your opponent with your Gokus and Vegetas, and then pretty much win the game. But I think these two leaders, Vegeta and Vegito, kind of go hand in hand in some ways. So I think currently I would put him in A. Zamasu is one of the best decks in the format still. The reason why Zamasu is good is because he's not just a 25k leader, because those leaders you got to put in a different column. Like we have Broly, we have Jiren, we have Zamasu. You have a leader that's 25k with the blue engine, and he has so many defensive cards. When they released Power of a Super Saiyan, I don't know if that was intentional, but they gave this leader a boost. He was pretty decent in set 2. The only leader who could fight Top Ku. But think about it now. Top Ku could come back probably, and Zamasu would easily defend against it. But maybe not, because you have Glorio and so much other things. But even with that, even if you drop a Glorio against this guy, they gave Zamasu a 4-drop Zamasu card that gives him plus 5k for the turn. So now you made this leader a 30k leader. This leader, honestly, with those buffs, has become literally stationed in the S tier. I think that the only thing that sucks is facing Zamasu mirrors, which would be highly boring and highly long. Of course, playing the long game multiple times. But if that's your style, that's what you want to do, that's how you like to play, Zamasu's up there, because I think this leader can combat almost any deck. Doesn't matter which one you pick. You want to play aggro against it? Cool. Eventually, you're going to run out of steam. He's going to stabilize. He's going to lock down your guys and draw cards. He's going to bottom deck your guys. The blue engine with this leader is too strong. And unfortunately, that's just the game state of things. But I feel like it's the best leader of this set. It can lose to certain things, of course, but maybe you have bad hands. Maybe they're pushing you in a little too hard. Things like that. Because you got to be very efficient with your energy. But to me, it's still one of the best leaders, at least in this format so far. The next leader, because I think that was all blue leaders, right? Because I want to miss it. Let's go over red. I think Daima Goku, the starter deck one, is an A leader. I think that with the new one out, there are situations where this one is still good because you can give any battle card plus 5k, and then you can neg something 5k. So sometimes you're not worried about buffing something up too big. You can make your 25Ks, 30Ks, nega anything off the board and kill it, cantrips or anything. It's still a good ability. He can still draw on both sides, unlike Beerus. He can still do a lot of those things. So in my opinion, he's still viable. He can still run all the new sets engines. The only thing is, I feel like the other leader does it better at the moment. So, still a great leader, still can do things. His ability is still amazing. He can run all the newer Dyma cards. And he just has an ability that promotes different day building sometimes, because you don't have to worry about having DA only cards. You can literally run anything and give him plus 5k. So I still think this leader's in a good spot at A. Beerus goes on a B. Beerus is still a great deck that can still kill you, crit you down, control your hand size while they're controlling theirs. If you can play the game perfectly with the hand you're given from the beginning of the game, controlling your opponent's hand from the beginning of the game, critting them down, awakening, controlling our board, technically Beerus walks you. That's how Beerus wins the game. Beerus walks you. But the other leaders are more consistent because of their draw power, because they can do other things, they can buff things, and Beerus has to fully crit you, walk you down with your few cards in hand, crit you down, beat you down with a double strike or something, and then win the game. It's good. It's just like Goku Black, but I feel like Beerus gets to run all the red cards, unlike Goku Black has to run his own engine. So, still a great leader. I just gotta put him in B, because I think that's where he's well suited. Jiren. I hate to talk about Jiren in this. Jiren goes to C. The game has gone a little faster. It's nice he's a 25k leader, but with the way these red leaders are playing now, I think Jiren kind of loses the game more. You have to rely on the 4-drop, which can be removed now because yellow has a new SCR. You have to worry about the Glorios pushing back at you, even though you can run the same things, but they can do it back at you. And I feel like you won't be able to get in the long game that you're trying to get to. So in my opinion, I feel like Jiren kind of stepped down, and as everybody says, how the mighty has fallen. So he can still be great in the right hands, dangerous. But in my opinion, you can remove the 4-drop, you can literally kill most of the deck. So in my opinion, he belongs to C. And I hate to do this. Starter deck Red Goku has to go in F, only because there really is no reason to play him anymore. You have the new Dyma that does similar things. It's not on both turns, of course. That's his only positive, is that he can give a buff +5 on both turns. Problem is the game is kind of outpaced that ability. So because of that, he has to go in F tier, because there's no reason to play him unless they gave him a leader locked ability just for this leader that became really strong. The current state of time, that's pretty much it. Topku is C. He's not an F because he can still be used better than the starter deck Goku. Problem is, he still lost all the power. He can gain every red card that these newer decks have. Problem is, they're not tournament of power, so that means he doesn't get any more support. He's stuck with the same rule restrictions of the ban list. He's still stuck with the same issues he's had since his nerf in set 2 and all. So because of that, there's no reason to really play him. But above the starter deck Goku, you could, but there's no reason to. Then this red leader, I'm gonna put him up there. And I'm not trying to say he's the best leader, red, blah blah blah. It's just the thing is, this red leader can literally now do way more things than the other Daimaku can do. Because a lot of the DA cards that you can buff, all your 20k bodies, you can buff and make them big. And it's amazing. Making all your bodies 30k swingers, that's super combos at your opponent's hand. Or buffing your Glorio. to a 35k dual attacker instead of a 25k dual attacker. That is really good because that's even more super combos out of their hand. It's really good that you can do that. The only thing is, it depends how you build your deck, because sometimes you can go fully aggro and then you run out of steam. But having this deck do the same thing the starter deck Daimaku can do, which, like I said, they can run the same cards. The difference is, I feel like he does it slightly better with the boost. Like if they went head to head, that this leader, this new one, will beat out the old one, and that's the only reason why I say it's a little bit better. And I also think it's better against a bunch of matchups because that push helps you. There's ways to play around Gloria, there's ways to play around certain things, but in the day, when they drop Pansy, what are you gonna do? You kill it, they draw 2 cards. The more cards that an aggro deck has, the more they can combat you with. And this deck forces you to think what you're going to do here and there. But also, it pushes you in here and there, so you got to be careful. But it can run out of steam. It can have your bodies die if your opponent doesn't really care. And there's ways to remove Pansy other than killing it. So you got to be very careful with it. But I do think it's a really strong red leader. It just, like, we kind of increased the value of this leader over the other one. But like I said, depending on matchups, the other starter deck Daimaku could be better because it's situational. But for the most part, across the board, I think this new red leader is pretty good. I put U7 and C. U7 is kind of like Top Coup. You're getting U7 support, but it's not enough of a push compared to what the new Daimaku can do. So still great, still locals material in my opinion. UI, I like this leader. The problem is, you want to play it kind of stally like Jiren, and in this set you can't do it. It's great to drop the 5-drop Frieza and the SCR and copy them. The problem is he still doesn't draw an Awaken. He awakens at, my bad, am I right? he doesn't draw an Awaken. He awakens at 3 life. He can copy, but you barely have any hand at that point. So it's one of those things where it's like, I'd rather play Beerus right now over him. Yes, you copy big power, 40Ks, 50Ks, whatever you want to copy. Problem is, it's not enough with a little bit of cards you have in hand because you don't get the draw on Awaken. So I feel like these stipulations, when he first was released, could have been pretty good. But now it's starting to feel like it's not enough. It really is. All right, yellow. Oh, I forgot a blue leader. My bad. Let's do this real fast. Haloku is still A. Haloku is still a great deck that works within his archetype. That can aggro you out. It can do a lot of crazy things. Has a bunch of options that the other blue decks have. The only issue is, I just think Zamasu can beat this deck. There's not enough in your deck that can beat Zamasu, and I feel like the red leaders can neg your board. It's still a great deck. I just feel like you still gotta be careful. So yes, you can combat other decks. Yes, you can push other decks in, but he's definitely not S tier. But he's not B tier, so it's a good thing. All right, let's move to black. All right, Bardock. Bardock is B tier. Bardock is currently just doing all the generic black stuff. You have a 25k attacker leader, which is really good actually, which is the only thing that's making him not go to C tier. But everything else is generic black stuff. Yes, there was a Bardock, I think, printed this set. A few new tools that he can use, but his only thing saving him is his ability to look at the top card to see what's coming next, and he's a 25k attacker. Other than that, if you're playing him, it's for real good black stuff engine, and he can do it consistently. So like, if you want to play aggro, he's pretty good at it. I'm not gonna lie, but he's B tier. He can't beat other black decks in my opinion. He's not that amazing in my opinion. So he's where he belongs. Goku GT is A tier. With the newer stuff coming out in this set, it helps him out even more. His ability is still strong. Spending one energy to bust something is still strong. It's just like the red Daimaku. He can pick anything. I mean, I'm pretty sure, right? For other ability, his ability to boost though helps him out a lot. Because now you're doing what Black does. Now you're boosting something. You have certain cards that are kind of leader locked for you if you want to run the double striker and such. So now you're talking about a deck that can do a little bit more than Bardock can do. So in my opinion, he belongs in A tier. Most of the black decks are pretty strong still, but they're not the best things in the world, but they're pretty strong. I might get slack for this. At least I might. I think Black Baby's in S tier. He was given some couple tools in this set. The new Bulma card is actually really good. The fact that you can self-awaken and rest her to draw, it gives you so much draw power now that the deck was missing. If you run it kind of like Goku GT or whatever, you can have similar engines, you can put similar things, you can still run the Meta Roto package and combine it with good black stuff, and you can literally just go from tempo, mid-range, whatever you want to do, and out of nowhere just start dropping Meta Rotos and just chain everything. This deck got better in my opinion, and yes, I don't think it's, how do you explain it, it's not the best of the best, whatever, but I think out of all the black decks, this deck can do what they do, and plus has a package that the other decks don't have. And that's why I'm putting S tier, because I feel like it can do more because of that ability of comboing your rest mode battle cards. There's no reason to play this if you're not going to play Meta Riddle package. That there has to be a good reason to use the ability. Yes, you can combo other things away, but when you can drop a 4-drop Baby Ape into a 2-drop anything and take life and combo away things and destroy your opponent's board, because this card also destroys your opponent's board. Baby Ape is really strong in this deck. It's strong in all the black decks, but in here it's pretty good too, because you can literally rip their board and aggro your opponent once they're 4 or less life. But his biggest flaw in my opinion still is you need to have cards in hand. You need to draw, and you can still run SCR if you want to draw. You can still run, you can have the new Bulma, which is really good. In my opinion, out of all the black decks so far, he's pretty good. Gogeta, and like I said, I might catch slack for both of these, but I put him hand in hand with him. Baby can do the aggro portion of it and run black things, but Gogeta being able to make an energy marker whenever he wants, and the fact that he can say he has his own kind of engine, the, what is it, Another World, the PyCon. He can do a lot of things with those energy markers and abilities, because he can create it anytime. You don't need to run Kakarot to create an energy marker. You don't need to run, like in Baby, 2-drop, damn, I don't forget her name, but the 2-drop that takes a life and creates an energy marker. You don't have to, the Bola, you don't have to run these cards because he does it himself. You create your energy marker, you can extend plays. The only issue is, I don't know why they took away his draw and awaken. But other than that, this man is drawing a lot, especially with PyCons. You're sitting here drawing with PyCons, you're drawing with the SCR, you're replacing your hand, you're stalling out the game here and there. Honestly, they're kind of similar in their own engine, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna put it like this. You're not really putting these in order, but I do think Gogeta is slightly better than Baby. This is how I feel about it. But they're both really good black decks within the way the game is played, I think, currently, and he belongs there. That's all the black. I missed a green. Namaku. Namaku's A. Namaku does belong in A. He plays different because he's not reliant on energy ramping. He goes into life, he does a bunch of crazy stuff. The only thing is, I'm not sold in saying that, oh, I'd rather run Namaku over androids. I still feel like androids can beat Namaku. I feel like other decks could beat it. Because when they go to 2, it's scary. But you're also at 2 life. You should be very, very careful not to die. So I think it's one of those like high risk, high reward decks. But when it goes off, it goes off. So in my opinion, he has to go to A. He's way better than Cell and some of the ramp decks. But he's definitely an A tier deck. Yellow. I love this deck, this Boo deck. The problem is, Fat Boo is pointless. There is so much other decks that can play defensively better now that this Boo deck's pointless. Running this Wicked Soul Chain and all that, the stall game and all, there is no point. In Fusion World, you have to go quicker. You can't stall too much. You want to be able to gain a lot of advantage. This leader does nothing enough to really matter. So definitely, in my opinion, all the way in F. Ginyu, C tier. Ginyu has to be C tier because the fact is, Ginyu can still steal games. He can still do crazy stuff. But so many other leaders do his engine better. The only thing you gain from Ginyu is his activate main ability, but there's no point. You have to have a board. You gotta have your bodies. You gotta hope that that even matters for them all to swing again and stuff. I just think it's pointless. Ginyu is a great out of nowhere, bring it to locals. They're like, shit, I didn't tech for this guy. But for the majority part in the meta, in an actual tournament, I don't see Ginyu really mattering. Cooler can go in B. Cooler is able to do new things now that you have the SCR Frieza. A couple of new cards that came out for yellow that can suit him on Frieza Clan. But he kind of still suffers from certain things. Like, he's honestly like low B, high C around there. He's kind of in that middle ground. So I'm gonna put him in B though. I feel like he can contend a little now that he has these new cards because he's a crit leader. He has these new things and he can control you a little bit. Problem is, I think some the other leaders can do it better, and unfortunately he could be better. I'm gonna have to, you know, tinker with him and make a deck list, but honestly he's a B tier leader. Frieza can now go into A. Frieza now has the SCR as well, some other cards that can help him out, and untapping your bodies is really good. You know how it feels that you can untap your Boo or untap your SCR and their berries they can't die? That's disturbing. So this leader now can do some really good things. And then you made Jace. Jace for all the yellow leaders is really good. Having a 2-drop take a life critical is good, because now they have options to pressure their opponent, including getting to their self-awakening state to doing what they want to do. So right now Frieza, he belongs in A. He can get there. He can do some things now. I'm gonna have to do more testing to see if he's really, really good, but currently I think he can belong in A tier before he can do. Same thing with Majin Buu. Majin Buu is A tier. I like what he can do. He can make you discard cards with the Buu Chain and Bobbity. He has leader locked things, which is really nice. Yes, other leaders can use his Buu, but he can make you discard even more than those decks. He can play the 30k 3-drop Buu that can swing twice. He can play the guy that makes you rip cards. He can attack you for the 5-drop, play multiple bodies, and swing you double strike. This leader can steal wins. This leader can still be good. It's just that he kind of plays it in a certain way. It's not truly aggro, is more like a controlling manner of it, where he wants to hit you, rip you here and there, hit you. It's something about this leader that is good, but it's just like not fully aggro, not fully. I'm gonna kill you in a few turns, but he does play really well. Still has everything. Final explosion. Still has some of the newer cards that can benefit him. Um, he was given a new rare. I'm not sure if it's really good in the deck, but it can kill 3 drops or less, which is pretty good. So he belongs in A. He's not bad. He's still really good, and I'm gonna put him right there because I have other leaders that are a little bit better. Oops. Vegeta is S tier. Vegeta now has new extra cards to benefit him. Having a 25k extra card that Bulma can pick up is crazy work. He has more defensive tools now than he had before. And this is one of those leaders that we talked about in the beginning when he released a set too, I believe, right? It was like the longer this game goes on, and they had to be careful what extra cards to release, especially during your turn. So they did that in this set. What you thought was for Janemba can be used in Vegeta. And now he has even more defensive tools because you gave him the SCR. You gave him the extra cards. Honestly, this leader can do just like Zamasu. The only thing is he's not a 25k leader, but it doesn't matter because untapping 2 energy and using those energy for defensive stuff is really, really strong. Like it's really good. And currently, I do think this leader is up there because he can contend against any of those other decks from S tier. 100%. He can contend against any of those other decks that are in the bottom level down there. I think this leader can actually go right next to Zamasu. Like, I'm not putting them in order, but like they're literally right here hand in hand. Like they're both stall decks. They're both decks that says, hey, you're not gonna hit me. I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna do this. It's a real grinding game. But I like what they gave Vegeta. He is up there in my opinion. That's a really good thing. And then last but not least, one of my favorite leaders so far. I'm getting so sick and tired of this thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. Janemba belongs in S tier. Janemba does what the other yellow leaders do, but the biggest ability is untap 2. When this leader was released, everybody's like, oh man, this man can't draw unless he spends 2 energy. So then you're just gaining your energy just to use it for a draw, rest a battle card. It is situational. You can play this leader defensively, you can play it offensively, you can play it mid-range. This is a scary leader, honestly, because there is no 100% way to build this deck. Some of these other leaders, you can change up their decks. You can change up, how they are a little bit. Janemba, you don't know what you're going to get. You can get a fully balsa wall aggro. You can get a very defensive because of those extra cards that pretty much plays like Vegeta. You can literally swing. You can get a draw card and use this 2 energy for defense. There's so many ways this deck can play that you have to be on your toes because you don't know how to play against it. If you're playing aggro, you can do so much energy manipulation with the 5-drop SCR, with your 3-drop Janemba, with the leader untapping. You can play so many bodies. You know how many times I've played a 4-drop Majin Vegeta, or I played the 4-drop Son Goku that locks down things, and then untap 2 energy to play something else? You can do so much extensions because this leader allows you to do that. And there's another thing, that this leader has to be very careful how Bandai makes cards for yellow, because now you made extra cards and go for this Vegeta and this Janemba. But currently, I do think the game is fun. I do think we're in a great spot in the game, in the format. And like I said, this is pre-predictions, not my full 100%. These are where people land. Everybody's prediction is different. But so far, how I've seen the game played, how I've seen things happen, I do think these leaders mostly belong in the slots I put them. I could be wrong. I could be 100% dumb. But playing the game as long as I have, seeing how most of these decks play, this is just where I fit them, which I think is a really healthy meta. You know, just don't play the F tier decks. I think there's no point. Every deck C tier and above is amazing, great. So here's my list. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch y'all whenever.